All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Career Blab for BWISE, Black Women in Science and Engineering. I'm Erica Jefferson, founder of Black Women in Science and Engineering. Those of you who've been on here before know that we talk about all things related to careers in STEM. This week, we're going to be talking about the other side. We're going to be talking about folks who are in academia and those really super smart people who go on and get PhDs in these STEM fields. So we've got two hosts today. We've got two very smart young ladies. The first one is Miss Sabrina Collins, and I'm trying to get my bio up. Sabrina has recently joined the Lawrence Technological University as Executive Director of the Marburger STEM Center. This is effective July 1st. And prior to this, Sabrina was Director of Education at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit, where she focused on the museum's science, education, and social studies programming. She's a native of Detroit and has a PhD in organometallic chemistry from the Ohio.
Thank you. The Ohio State University, yes.
Listen, I get mad when you don't put that "the" on there. Ohio State University. Very accomplished young lady, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey, both on the process of getting her PhD, and also she wants to talk about what happens after tenure denial. Life is not over, and how you can bounce back and thrive after that. Following Dr. Sabrina, we will have Chanel Turner, and Chanel is with the Southern Regional Educational Board, Doctorate Scholar Program. Did I say that right?
Doctoral Scholar Program,
Scholar Program. And she's going to tell us about the wonderful programs that they offer to support doctoral students and becoming faculty and all kind of things associated with helping those of you who are on that path, getting you support and just connecting you to a network. So we'll let her tell all about her wonderful organization after that. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Sabrina. She can kind of tell us about her experience. So those of you who are new to Blab, we have a wonderful time. This hour goes by so fast. And if we need more time, we just keep going until we run out of things to talk about. And for those of you who are new, if you see those little hands in the right-hand corner, those hands are applause. Those let us know that we're saying something that you appreciate, and that gives us encouragement to, as they say in church, preach. So if you like what we're saying and you want to encourage us, just click on those little hands. I'll show you right here. You'll see your little picture come up. And we'll keep going. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina, and she can take it from there. All right, Sabrina, you're up.
Well, I am thankful to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. I thought I would begin by sharing a couple of fun facts about myself. For one, I'm a huge Shaka Khan fan. Love her. The next thing is that I absolutely love shoes, and that I'm also a terrible cook. And the reason why I say that is because there's this unwavering belief that if you major in chemistry, that somehow directly correlates to being a good cook. And I'm a walking testimony that that is not true. So I wanted to share that.
Foods were organometallic.
It wouldn't make a difference. I love to cook. I'm just not good at it. So I enjoy that. But I actually began my college career in community college. And at the time, my mother was a secretary in the nursing department at Highland Park Community College, which is now closed in Highland Park, Michigan. But I was able to take advantage of the tuition assistance program, so I was able to go for free. And everybody kind of babied me because I was Nancy's daughter. But I took a chemistry class, enrolled in a chemistry class for non-science majors, thought it was extremely easy. So I said, I'll just be a chemist. The classes obviously got harder, but I stuck with it. I'm a proud nerd. I just like doing unit conversions. It's that linear algebra. So that's why I was hooked on there. And after earning my associate degree, I eventually enrolled at Wayne State University, downtown Detroit. and earned my BA in chemistry. And in that, at Wayne State, I became involved with NOBSHE, the National Organization for the Professional Advancement of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers. And I also was awarded a MARC Fellowship, so Minority Access to Research Careers. It's now called Maximizing Access to Research Careers. It's funded by the National Institutes of Health. But because of that program, I was able to get that hands-on experience in the laboratory. So I was hooked. You know, it's that research experience that grabs you. And I was given a monthly stipend and my tuition was paid for. And it wasn't until that program that I actually considered pursuing a PhD. And I enrolled at The Ohio State University and decided to pursue inorganic chemistry, because inorganic chemistry, we make colorful compounds. Organic chemists, they make things that just are brown, yellow, and white. There's no fun in that. So it's the pretty colors that got me. But a couple of years ago, I was in a tenure track position at a wonderful small liberal arts college in Ohio, and I was up for tenure and promotion. And things did not go very well.
Before you keep,
sure.
Tell those of us, because there's a few of us who are baccalaureate only, what does that entail? What does tenure track entail? Sure. So it's not just that you I got a PhD and now I'm a professor. There's more to it
absolutely.
Than that.
So really, before I became a professor, after earning my doctorate, I did a postdoc at Louisiana State. So there, you know, postdoc is really additional training, you know, so that you can run your own lab, manage your own lab, design your own experiments. And so from that experience, usually the track is you earn your PhD, do a postdoc, then you go for a faculty position. So tenure track, you're as an assistant professor first, and then you get promoted to associate professor. And if you want, you can pursue a full professor position. So that's pretty much what the track looks like. And so at the time, I was an assistant professor. So I was going up for promotion and tenure to an associate professor. And so at the time, I successfully, I had a successful second year review and fourth year review. Then came a 6-year review, which was in 2014, and that didn't go very well. And it was a painful experience that I wouldn't want anybody to go through. It was a very hurtful experience. But it forced me, something good came out of it, because it forced me to stop running from who I am. And basically that I'm someone who's very passionate about promoting STEM education and diversity in STEM. So every emotion you can think of, I was angry, I was hurt, I was frustrated, but I was able to get through that experience pretty much because of a group of young ladies that I refer to as my personal BOD, my board of directors. They know who they are, and I think some of them are watching, so shouts out to them. These ladies hold me accountable, and they essentially rescued me when I was going through a really, really difficult time. And so they let me, get all my anger and frustration out. Then they said, okay, now that you have done that, what is your plan for moving forward? And so they didn't let me sit around wallowing in self-pity. So I actually, one of my friends, Dr. Marquita Qualls, who is a member of the BLD, she told me to take a look at the tenure review package and look for the positive things that are in there from the review. And what I discovered is that there were a lot of good things in that tenure review. I did some good things while I was a faculty member. But what I noticed, my scholarship was more focused on diversity in STEM, because I love producing that kind of scholarship. So I've known all along that's really what I should have been doing. I just decided to pursue the faculty position because I thought that's what I should be doing. And too many of us, we pursue things because we're afraid of what someone will say if we pursue something different. So for me, what I ended up doing, the other thing that I'm passionate about too is that I love to write and publish articles about women and scientists of color, our contributions to the field, because you know that the focus is usually on George Washington Carver or Benjamin Banneker, and those are two powerful pioneers, but there are so many other narratives that we're not hearing. So I have a body of work focused on that. And so because of that experience, that's how I ended up working at the Charles H. Wright Museum. So here I was, a PhD chemist working at an African American History Museum. And I am so thankful for the opportunity to work at the Wright Museum, because they gave me an opportunity when I needed it most, a professional opportunity. So I'm thankful for that. But I also had a chance to work with younger children, which I never had that experience before, working with a lot of kids in either high school or middle school. But I always wanted to return to academia. And so when the opportunity came to apply for a position at Lawrence Tech, when I looked at the position, I said, this position was tailor-made for me. They wanted someone that had the STEM education experiences that I've had. So working as a faculty member, working as an administrator at University of Washington in Seattle. So I've had all of these experiences, plus I had experiences leading summer camps as well because of my experience at the Wright Museum. And, I joined Lawrence Tech. I'm happy. I love it. And I've been there since July 1st, and I'm just having a whole lot of fun right now. But if you're not familiar with Lawrence Tech, so Lawrence Tech is probably the best, one of the best STEM-focused institutions in this country. It's Michigan's best kept secret. And, STEM is a buzzword now, but Lawrence Tech was established in 1932 as a college of engineering right next to adjacent to the factory of the Model T factory from Henry Ford. So that's really, the STEM is in our DNA. And so because of that, I'm bringing every experience that I've had has prepared me for this moment. So what I recommend, though, for everyone out there listening is that if you go through a difficult period, on the job or whatever. Maybe it's not the tenure, the tenure review or those kinds of things. Take a step back, do a reflection, and really look at what role you played in it, and be honest, because in all honesty, I wasn't as passionate about being a chemistry professor, and I had to come to terms with that and admit that. So basically, that is my story. And I hope with this story, and really it's about turning lemons into lemonade, and so I want to use my testimony to help somebody else get through a difficult time.
Absolutely. It's so important to share negative and positive experiences, because so many of us are going through those things and we feel like we're the only ones. You don't know. That's kind of the path of most of us, but you hold it, especially if you keep it to yourself. So it's so wonderful to hear that you have a board of directors who are not just, your girls that you kick it with, but people who understand your journey, your path, and so they can talk to your experience, right? I can't necessarily talk to my girlfriend who's in finance. In general, I can, of course, right? But, she doesn't know anything about, STEM, or working in fields. Finance is certainly more diverse than engineering or science. So, she doesn't have the same experience. She's never worked in a plant and had to wear hard hat and steel-toe shoes. So she doesn't, quite understand, when I tell her those things. So it's so important that you have that community of people who support
it's very important. And one of the things they told me, one of the other BLD members, Dr. Rakisha Thompson, she told me, she said, Sabrina, we don't care what you do as long as you are happy. And you need people to be in your corner to tell you, look, if this is what makes you happy, if that's what you're passionate about, pursue that. Don't worry about what other folk are going to say about you, and you have to be comfortable with that.
Absolutely. I hear that a lot in some of the young ladies that I've met since starting BWISE, who've, started their journey to PhD. Like, I got this because someone, gave me the opportunity to get in this program. And then you have to ask, well, did you really want to do this? I mean, are you this decision because someone encouraged you to do it. And so I want to make sure I get Chanel's thoughts on that. Is that part of the offering of your organization, that you talk to people to kind of sort out their career path? I know it's focused on academia, right? But there's, from what you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but there is certainly research and grant and other things, but there are more ways, it seems like, to be in academia or to have a foot in academia than being in the classroom all the time. So I'd be curious to find out, is there any development or any discussion for people that,
I think, and I just want to start off and say, Sabrina, I think your journey is incredibly inspiring, and it's really me on the other side supporting these scholars and these students to hear stories like that, because we do have scholars that have gone through that exact thing of not being granted tenure and to work, your whole college life and your grad school life for that, and for that to kind of be taken away. It was really rough. And I think it's really empowering to hear someone on the other side of that.
Right.
And it's a tale that's going to be, I'm definitely going to direct them to this, to watch this and understand that, life doesn't end because that doesn't happen. I know for us, we do definitely, because the purpose of our organization is to diversify faculty. So the whole mission is to tick up that 5% African-American proctoral rate and 1% Hispanic, and just really like create a classroom where students that are in those seats see somebody that looks like them. So that is our goal, is to diversify. But at the same time, we do understand that everybody may not go that route, and that their passions may take them elsewhere. Some of our most passionate students and people that come back to volunteer for our conference are people that are not in academia, and they've decided that, that's just not the place for me, and I feel like I can be fulfilled somewhere else. And we support that, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's about being happy. So we have workshops at our conference that talk about what else is there, being a director and going back into the community. So many of our scholars want to do that, and we support that. We really do. While our goal is here, we do understand that everybody has a purpose, and the purpose may align and may not, and that's okay.
That leads me to a question, do you think going into, because I know you can go straight to your PhD program from your bachelor's, you don't have to, do your master's first, but do you think people have a clear understanding of what that means, what that journey really is? They understand, you're either going to go in academia or corporate, and there's kind of how can I say this? It's a range of options for you. So if you get a PhD in chemistry, nobody's going to hire you to be their interior decorator, right? You got this degree, pick this topic for your dissertation. That is your area of expertise. And, that's kind of your selling point. I'm an expert on resins, or I'm an expert on organometallic, dyes or whatever. So if you say, I really have an interest in cosmetics chemistry, guys correct me if I'm wrong, that's a hard shift if you spent, 5-6 years researching and doing things in that field. So do you think people understand that when you, decide to go to the PhD program and you pick whatever your topic, I'm sure that's lots of research and pre-work to determine what that's going to be. But do you find that people really grasp that? Or maybe an easier question is, do you have turnover, Janelle? So do you have people who come in, I want to be the world's best chemistry person?
We do have we have a withdrawal rate. I think for us it's about 12%, I think. About 12%. About 12%. And I think that, just like you said, and I think, Sabrina, you can relate to this. It's a hard journey. It is a very long, arduous journey that watching these scholars go through, I immensely respect. I look at them and I'm just like, I have mad respect for you guys. And I think what starts to happen is I do think reality starts to set in for some people. I think some people that went to, from my experience, people that went to grad schools that really focused and cultivated that research mentality, posters and had a big research focus, I think they're ready and they know what to expect. And students that have attended our conference as undergrads and masters, like they really hear it. But I do think that some that come directly from bachelor's to PhD, and they have a rough time because it's such a big jump. There's just so much that I think the loneliness factor, even more so than really the difficulty of the work. I think kind of feeling like they're the only person that looks like them in the classroom and in their research group, I think really gets to them sometimes even more than the work does.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. What's the breakdown of
Sure,
STEM,
it's about 36%
candidates in your
STEM
program,
and about 28% for social sciences, and then everybody else we've got business and health professions. But it's a large group of STEM.
Okay, well, good. That's good to know that they're there. Now, is it a cohort? So everybody starts at the same, if you start your PhD program, and I know that the people you start with are the people that you kind of, you know.
Normally what we go by is we partner with 11 southern states. And so we partner with the public universities that are within those states. So it depends on the budgets of the state. And budgets have been, unfortunately, you know, shrinking a little bit, but we've been able to kind of work out deals with them as far as like the longevity of how long they're able to support a scholar. So what will happen is a university will pick up the tuition and they will provide a $20,000 stipend for 3 years. We'll provide the $20,000 stipend, for 3 years. And then the 2 years, the institution will pick up. And so what will happen is, depending upon the state, so like Arkansas, just calling them out randomly, like they may have slots for maybe 3 people, and those 3 people may be divided up between the public schools in Arkansas. So they may be at the same score, they may not, but states like Georgia, Alabama, where we've got like 35 applicants across those 2 states, will probably be going to the same universities and may see each other. So it's not, when they get to the Institute, which is our conference, they will kind of feel like a cohort a little bit, but they're accepted in August and then they attend the Institute in October. So they get a chance to meet each other for that first time and make those contacts.
Okay. So there is a network.
Go
ahead, Sabrina.
Can I ask a quick question? So what is the average time to degree, you know, for the STEM PhDs? Is it 6 years,
5.
7 years?
It's about 5. And I think the national average is around 7-ish.
Okay.
For minorities, it's around 9. But our guys, as far as like funded time to degree, is about 5.
Is that because there's funding?
About 5 years.
They said we have 3 years, then they have 2 years, so you kind of know.
So it saves.
I got to get out of here in 5 years.
Yeah, it saves the school money, and it saves that student from having to get a whole bunch of loans and really kind of struggle. They're ready to go.
Yeah, it took me 5 years, 9 months, and 1 day. I actually counted. After I turned in my dissertation and sat down and counted, so it was within that 6 years. But you know, I was sharing, you know, before we went live, that it really took me from 1990 when I earned my associate to 2000 when I earned that doctorate. Just being that committed, that's a long time, you know. And I took 1 semester off to finish. You know, it's a lot, you know, to go through that. And you pointed out, you know, when you are the only one in your research group, you're the only one in your classes. But what helped me is because we established a Novachet chapter at Ohio State, you know, and I served as the first president. So it was maybe about, I would say, when I joined Ohio State, probably about 8 of us, 8 African-American students out of about 200 graduate students. And at the time, the department chair, Matt Platts, he took us all out to lunch at the faculty club. And in hindsight, we were just happy to get some free food because, you know, that's how, that never gets old. But we had a real candid conversation. And he said, look, tell us what we need to do to keep you here. And ever since that day, I've been on this journey to like understand why so few of us pursue, you know, doctorates in the STEM field. So you're right, learning to how to deal with being the only one. But what helped, my group members were very supportive when I was preparing for my candidacy examination. They gave me a mock examination, and I hated all of them at the time. But by the time I went up for the candidacy examination, I was ready to go. There was nothing the committee could have said to me that I didn't know. So it's important to come out your comfort zone and form those friendships with people that are in your research group and get past this, oh, I'm the only one. It is hard, but I'm still friends with many of them to this day.
I wanted to piggyback on that a little bit, and I think it's interesting what you say about support. I know it's a program, and I just wanted to touch a little bit on our director, Dr. Ansley Abraham.
Yeah.
He started SREB DSP, what we call it for short to keep from saying like 16 syllables. But he started it in 1993 because he was meeting with students at a conference, and they were just kind of like expressing that fact of like, it's just us. And we really feel like we don't have the support. So one of the hallmarks of things that I know like we try to do is he's one man, but he will literally be on the phone from like 9 in the morning to like 5 o'clock, like talking with scholars and counseling them and kind of also not just counseling them, but kind of advocating on their behalf. Because I think you would agree with this, Sabrina, that sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. And sometimes you just need somebody to kind of vent to. So the scholars themselves act that way for each other, but also he steps up to kind of be that sounding brass for them. And the Institute, our conference that we put on every October is like the largest meeting of minority PhD scholars in the nation. So we've got people there from the Sloan Foundation, NIH, NSF that come along with our scholars to really get those workshops and network with each other. And I really think that is, like, some of them talk about, like, I couldn't get through the rest of my, like, fall without this. And it's just the importance of them being with each other to be in that mindset to finish. And whether it's a group on campus or whether that's something formal like what we do.
Yeah. I think, you know, support is so underappreciated for its value. And, you know, not just the good times. You want people to celebrate when you do well, but to help get through those challenging times where you feel like you're the only one who's going through these things. I've had, you know, several PhD candidates tell me, you know, I'm about to quit. You know, I don't think, you know, this is for me. And just to direct them to people who've already had that experience in that journey. That you're not alone in this. You know, that is one of the tenets of BWISE. And, you know, anybody who's kind of been with us from the beginning knows that this started off as just primarily a networking, you know, group to say, you know, girl, yeah, that happened to me too. Or, no, you don't want to work over there. I can promise you that's not the place you want to go. You know, just sharing experiences and information. And it's grown to so much more because the community needs so much more. And, you know, I always say that I love little girls. Little girls are wonderful. I was a little girl. But those of us who've already made the journey through, we need help too. And you know, whenever you see these reports about the numbers of not just people coming into STEM, but also the people who have been in STEM for a while and leaving, you know, we've made, you know, negative progress. You know, people are leaving, you know, probably faster than they're coming in, you know, so end up with a, you know, a negative, you know, output. And it's amazing that all these very smart people can't seem to figure this out. And, you know, to me, you know, one of, you know, several things that is causing this is a lack of support. You still have some people who believe that, you know, academia or These, highly technical fields are the domain of, white hair, white men. And why are you little
Mm-hmm.
brown people trying to get in here? So, in 2016, with 8 years of a African American president, we're still having to deal with some of the same things. And you need that support. I know without question, my experience in my career has, been benefited by having that one ear. And it doesn't, it's wonderful to have a board of directors. I haven't had that. I haven't even had a mentor.
Yeah.
But if you have that one person that you can
Mm-hmm.
rely on, sometime to get you off the wall, you're like, please wait, hold on. You got a
Right.
mortgage. Don't
Right.
don't go off. Don't go crazy. Hold on.
Right.
To just, be that ear, that voice of reason, to share what these things, but when you're in an emotional place, all that logic and theory goes out the window. But to have someone
Yeah.
to say, listen, Chanel, I know you're feeling this. Cooler heads always prevail. And how many times have you,
That's true.
been furious? And then once you step back and, had a little time to look at it, you said, I don't know why I was so angry. That really, you didn't
Yeah.
warrant all of that. And to have someone, prevent you from making those mistakes is invaluable. The other thing that I think connections and networking does is
Yes.
exposure. So one of my members
Mm-hmm.
from DC is on, Angela, and we were just talking about this earlier, is, the exposure to things that you may not be aware of. That's one of the things I wanted both Sabrina and Chanel to be on. I know I've got members who are probably watching who don't know anything about your organization, right? They started that path, and even if it's in your state, I know I have several people in Texas. They don't know anything about your program. I mean, no necessarily faults of their own. But if you don't know someone who's in it or gone through it that can speak to it, how would you ever find out, right? I don't know. I'm not sure, and you guys have to tell me this, if the schools are saying, hey, or if they're promoting, your program, or, the benefit of networking. Hey, Sabrina, you're a second year. I've got somebody over here in PChem, or I don't know, something else. Maybe you should connect with her because maybe you guys can share experience. I don't know if universities take the time to do that. That's not what they're built to do. So it would be, I would guess, a progressive university would do that. So you're really reliant on your network to share resources, for things like this. There's another program, and you may know it. I wish I had written it down. It begins with an M. I think it's a German name, like Meyer Hoffer. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not
It seems
familiar
like
with
it's
it.
another program, seemingly not as well known, that is, designed to support. If anybody knows, hey, Dr. Qualls, are you telling me what the name of it is? She's saying yes, at UMBC. Okay, so some people, oh yes, it is. It's at the University of Maryland. Yes, so they are telling me that. So that is a program that is, see what the network does?
Yes. Hey, Dr.
Meyer
Qualls.
That Dr. Qualls is just too smart. She's just too smart.
The Meyerhoff Scholars Program, yep, led by President Freeman Hrabowski.
So
yes, he's the
those
president.
are
Yep.
support programs that, if you don't know, you don't know. So it's so important to share. Support is wonderful and good, but we've got to get exposed to, people, situations, and then information that's, designed to help you. Sometimes, I'm guessing, you guys correct me, these programs go wanting for students because they don't necessarily know how to promote them. And, the minority students that can benefit, aren't aware. When I went to Washington, D.C., there was a program, I think it was the Mickey Leland program scholarship, something. Not that I would know, but I was like, well, I'm in Houston. I've never heard of anything associated with Mickey Leland. Didn't promote it, so they probably got a poor participation because, the people who could really benefit weren't aware of it. So I want to encourage, those of you who are connected and keep sharing information such as, groups like Chanel's, and getting your own board of directors with your network, because that is so important, right?
It's absolutely important. The other thing that I want to mention, though, it's extremely important to get mentors outside of your institution. So, when I was a grad student, I had mentors, at other institutions and also outside of my department. And so that's very helpful to get a different perspective on how to handle things when you do run into challenges. So I recommend that. So whenever students attend a conference, they really should use that as an opportunity to network and keep in contact with folks, because that can help you later on. Absolutely.
That's part of what your conferences are.
Yes.
Is that right, Chanel?
That's actually one of the themes. And what we do with all these scholars that come, we invite them to bring their faculty mentors with them, and not just their faculty mentors, but somebody that's even close to them, like maybe they're with another affiliation and they can't bring their faculty mentor. We encourage them to bring somebody that's been a part of investing in them, and we have sessions for them too for mentorship development. But we also, and I think mentorship is a really good point, teach the scholars to be mentors, because one day, you're going to be expected to pay it forward, and the support that was given to you to display that to somebody else. So it's so important to teach people to pay it forward, and that's what we try to do as well at the conference.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. When I went to the summit in DC back in June, someone took my seat, and I was just about to correct her for that. When she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I didn't know this was your seat." And she gave me her card, and I looked down, and she was the dean of engineering at the University of Buffalo. So I'm quick thinking. I'm like, "Oh no, you can have it, sweetheart." Later, because I have some people that I want to connect you to. So she ended up being, very considerate. I've now connected her to one of our BWISE members out of the University of Texas. She's agreed to take her on as kind of an informal mentor. They're going to get together every 6 weeks and just chat about all the things related to her career. So it's, she doesn't have the pressure of saying the right thing or doing something, that may jeopardize her, her defense with someone at her university. This is someone, like you said, out of her primary work that she can ask all things. And I was sharing with Angela earlier. She's a, Australian woman, and if you know anything about Australians, they are pretty direct. So on our first meeting, she tore her CV up. She ripped it to shreds. She started off nice, and she said, "You've got a lot of very great work here. She said, you've got typos in your CV. You can't have that at this level, at the PhD level. That's unacceptable." So she literally went through her experience. She said, "These are all the things I need you to work on, but I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you." And I told her, I said, what I've seen, and I don't have a PhD, is people would let you go and not tell you things that you need to fix.
That's true. Absolutely.
Not wanting to be rude or, trying to be polite, but that's not helping us. There are too few of us. There are too few opportunities for us. There's too many excuses for us not to make faculty, for us not to take help wherever we can get it. So,
That's it.
I'm always on the search for mentors. BWISE has a mentor program, primarily to begin with for those of us on the corporate side. We're on the dark side, but I'm always on the lookout for those mentors on the academic side. Dr. Qualls, see, she takes the bite. For those of us who need the mentors in that path too. So, that's, and my thoughts critical is that you have someone who you feel comfortable, sharing these things, because everything shouldn't be said to everybody. I don't.
Right. That's true. Right? That's true.
So you may not want to tell your advisor something or ask them a question because you certainly don't want to come off as unprepared or unknowledgeable, but you really don't know. So, I think it was wonderful of her to take her on and be that kind of level of advisor from a totally different university. And who knows, she appears to be committed to diversity. And so, anybody who's looking at making a change, if you're on today and you don't mind the cold and you would consider going to the University of Buffalo, let me know. I'll put you in contact with her. She's a very nice lady. So.
Well, let me just also go ahead. Go ahead, Chanel.
That's my. I'm sorry. I was just saying that's my old stomping ground.
Well, I wanted to also mention another thing that my board of directors suggested to me was to get a professional coach. And for the first time, I have a professional coach, and and getting help, that is not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength.
Right.
And so being able to talk to a coach about how can, I'm about to, have meetings with certain individuals. Can you give me some strategies on how I should approach the situation? Maybe some probing questions I should ask. Do you have some suggestions? And that has been immensely helpful to me. So I would definitely recommend getting a professional coach as you navigate through, because you're right. You need people to tell you the truth about things that you need to improve on. And my board of directors, they want me to grow and stretch. And that's what I'm about, and embracing challenges. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's that professional coaches, I think, are a very good way to go to help you navigate that career path as well.
Right. We've got someone, coaches are not cheap, which is true. It definitely is an investment in your career, right? So
it's an investment in your career, but the coach that I have, some coaches, they do offer affordable prices for graduate students and postdocs. So they are affordable. It's just, everybody has a different, pricing, but it's certainly affordable.
Right. Right. I think there's lots of opportunities to reach out. At some level, certainly in corporate America, you get to that senior level that your company is going to provide a coach for you, because there's some things that are, beyond the technical stuff as far as running a business that you need to know, especially for people
right.
First generation corporate America, working in corporate America. So there's some things that,
right.
Other communities have learned at their parents' knees that we may not know.
Right.
So you may need someone to tell you, no, you don't do this or you do that. It's not certainly as rigorous as your PhD program, but there's some things that some of us are struggling with professionally that I'm sure
right.
benefit. Chanel, do you all offer coaching as part of the program? Is that part of what gets included in the scholars
Definitely.
program?
At the Institute, we have formed a partnership with the recruiters that come. We have like recruiter exhibits where people from different institutions will come and actually recruit the scholars that attend. And what we've done for the past few years is had them participate in CV review sessions where they will sit down with scholars and actually go over and comb through their curriculum vitae, as well as give them some interview tips. We've had scholars that have like made lasting connections with some of the recruiters, and they still talk to them to this day. So I think for some people too, even bundling, like if you go to a conference, a lot of academic conferences now that I've heard of will offer a service like that where you can kind of get that initial review and even stay in contact with the person even afterwards. And I know some people have done that and gotten mentors out of it, as well as almost kind of like an informal career coach. So that's something that we definitely promote.
Okay.
But and the other thing too is you don't want to, wait until the last minute until things begin to spiral out of control. That's where many of us, we wait until it's too late, when things have just really gone over the cliff, and there we feel like there's no way of turning back. So we have to seek out, if there are opportunities, workshops to help you, definitely take advantage of those.
Absolutely. I always tell people that, those of us in the STEM field, we're not known for our extrovertedness. Is that a word? A lot of us are introverts, right? And the thought of networking with people we don't know is terrifying. It's not something that you look forward to. And when I was talking to the dean of engineering at Buffalo, I made this broad statement as only someone without a PhD would. And I said, if you're an introvert, then getting your PhD, that's a good fit for you because you can work in a lab by yourself. And she said, oh, no. If you plan to make tenure, The university's expectation of you is that you are out networking. Right. Certainly you're writing and publishing and researching, but your job is to bring dollars into the university. And if you can't, because you can't communicate with people, you're afraid to talk to people or make eye contact with people, that's not going to work. You're not going to be successful in your career. So I think and I hope you guys do that, Chanel. I'm sure you do, is, encourage people or maybe even teach people. It's amazing. I meet adults, 40-year-old adults who don't know how to network. It's not, listen, if you got a PhD, you can figure out how to network. It is not, technically difficult to do. Now, personally, it may be challenging because of whatever self-perceived things you have going on about yourself. Certainly learnable, it's teachable. Right. They have, in every field you can think of that would allow you to network. I think that's not just important within us, so my group is Black Women in Science and Engineering, and I'm unapologetic about that. But that doesn't mean that I don't network with American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and I don't network with the Society of Women Engineers, right? So, that's one thing I've heard over and over again, from some of the leaders I've talked to since starting this is, it's wonderful for you to be a part of NOBSHE, and it's wonderful for you to be a part of, I'm trying to think some other ones, Black Geologists or whatever some of the other organizations are, but you have to network with the majority groups as well. That's who's approving your tenure, right? I mean, unless you go to a HBCU, and then even HBCUs are not all Black on faculty. So you're gonna have to interact with people of a different background than you. And you don't want to wait, to, like Sabrina says, where it's critical that you have to do that. Practice makes perfect. So, you go to this event and you network, you go to that event and you network. And you guys, tell me what your thoughts on this. I bet the people who have the most successful careers in terms of, getting to high levels, if that's your measure of success, they have all those things together, right? So they know how to network. They have a board of directors. They've got either a professional coach, or they've got some resource to give them guidance on how to manage their career, because academia is a career, right? I think sometimes, certainly those of us on the corporate side think, oh, you're just teaching, right? There's not much more, but there's, from what I heard, politics associated with making tenure. And there's a lot of things that go into, driving your career, propelling you, to the levels of success in academia, that you have to do that. And the people that I see who just, soar and do really well, they seem to have figured that out early. Some of it is innate. Maybe they're just that type of person and they don't need a lot of direction. But like I said, a lot of us are introverts. I'm an ambivert, I think. I guess a combination of the two, but a lot of us, we're figuring it out as we go. And your path is your path. Whatever God has intended for you to experience and do is what it is. But I just would like to make things as easy as possible for myself. I don't like to struggle unnecessarily. So if I can do something easier, quicker, faster, better, that's what I want to do.
But, I also, a lot of us, many in our families, they don't necessarily have that experience of going to graduate school and earning, that master or that PhD in a STEM field. So our families, trying to figure out how our families can support us, during that process, I think is important. But see, that's where that mentoring comes in. You have to. Your grandma might love you, but your grandma may not be able to help you, deal with some things, so.
Right.
And it's funny that
grandma has intentions.
It's funny that you would say that as well, because the scholars that we've seen that have excelled the most, it's funny how at the end of the year, when we have our graduation ceremony and everybody's pumped up, there's some people that are standing on that stage and they've already got jobs, they've already got opportunities ready to go. Because they started so early. They found a mentor. They went and found somebody that was publishing in their field and that was doing what they wanted to do, and really just just jumped in head first, feet first. We got in.
Right.
And then there's other people that didn't really take that initiative, and it's been a little bit harder for them to really secure those networks. And like you said, Erica, your path is your path, and things are going to materialize. But we have seen that the people that have really taken our resources and other people's resources and just really ran with them are the ones that we try to give you a push and a head start, but at the end of the day, they've got to finish that race and really take the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to mention one other thing. So during that same year that I was denied tenure, both of my grandmothers passed away that August, within 2 weeks of each other. And I have wonderful stories about both of my grandmothers that I cannot share publicly because grandmothers don't have filters. They say whatever they want to say. But, so on top of the being denied tenure and having to deal with that personal hurt was real difficult. And so, my board of directors, they really, like I said, rescued me when I needed it to try to, move forward, particularly in that difficult time period for me.
That's so important. And Sabrina, thank you for sharing your wonderful story. Hopefully there's somebody out there that's hearing, your challenges and how you still, overcame and ended up with something that probably was, divinely ordained for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That path. And, I always say first of all, I don't trust people who don't have scars. You don't have scars on your legs, your knees, your elbows. I don't trust you. But everything that happens to us prepares us, for that next level. And, sometimes you have to go through some things in order to appreciate,
that's right.
What is for you, right? So if you have this, valid summa cum laude bachelor's and you fly through your PhD program and then you make tenure, first to make tenure, earliest tenure, first time something, goes wrong, you're not used to it. You're not used to having failures. And that's what, that's what, kind of shapes your life is, how you bounce back from those failures. So,
that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm. So, even those things, and I'll say from my experience, I probably could have been an interior decorator based on my interests. I picked this path in STEM because someone told me I was smart and I should go and be a chemical engineer, not because I had a burning passion for it. And because of that, because I have not been walking in my passion, I have struggled because I didn't want to do this. And it was only in the last couple years where I was like, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop playing for myself. I do not like calculating stuff, mixing up stuff. I do not like this. But what I will say about my journey is I wouldn't be able to speak on these topics about the struggles of Black women in STEM having not gone through that. Right.
I agree.
Right. I'd just be another person who's talking about STEM on the surface. Oh, it's challenging. Well, have you had challenges? Well, I really haven't. Well, then how are you going to speak to us who are having challenges, right? You're just telling us what you heard. That's secondary information. Right. So I appreciate everything I've gone through. I didn't at the time, but I do now.
Yeah.
I look back and I was like, everything that happened to me on my journey prepared me to start BWISE. I don't know if I would have start this organization if I'd had one of these wonderful careers where I've had mentors and coaches all along who were crazy, telling me how great I was and getting 12% bonuses every year. What motivation would I've had to start this? But I've started it, I guess I never thought of it. And I think probably a lot of us, you never stop to look around and say, you know what? A lot of us are having problems. I'm trying to think of one person, maybe Tam could help me, one person that we know that is having, now Sabrina, we'll put Sabrina in that category, who is really at a point where they're enjoying their career and they feel like they made the right path. I've got a lot of members who, if they could switch over to marketing tomorrow, they would. Mm-hmm. So, STEM is wonderful and great until it's not. So I want to make sure that I continue to share information for and the people who are listening, that there are alternatives, there's help out there, there's
Right.
all kinds of information, so that you don't feel like you wasted your degree, right? You could go and get your PhD and you can end up, being a high school teacher. Doesn't mean that you have a defined trajectory of what you have to do. So
Right, absolutely.
I'm looking, you've got 5 more minutes, so I want to make sure I opened it up for questions. You guys, if anybody has any specific questions or comments, I see Dr. Qualls is on here, so if you have any input or feedback, I want to let you guys go ahead and do that. You can type them at that bottom where it says send a message. You can make a comment, or if you type Q and / it turns into a question for our panelists. So I put that out there, but we'll keep talking and we'll answer them as they come up if you guys have anything. Any parting thoughts, I guess, in the last 5 minutes for either of you about, increasing the number of Black women STEM PhDs? Any passing comments or thoughts or?
Well, one thing that I want to say is that, we should stop putting faith in individuals that don't understand our vision or the dreams that we have for our life. That is our responsibility. And we too often do that. For years, I was too afraid to admit what I wanted to do with my life. I'm not afraid anymore to walk in my truth, and I think when you get to that point, I am so liberated. I cannot express to you, just 2 years ago, like I said, it was just really painful. I would never have dreamed that I would be leading a major STEM center at one of the top institutions in this country. And this position, I really feel, was made specifically for me, So yeah, you have to stop putting faith in people that don't understand your vision. It's not their responsibility to understand your vision and your dream. Right. That's something you have to do.
Right. And don't feel like you've committed to this path or you have to stay on it. If you decide you want to bake cupcakes, then you go and bake cupcakes. Maybe you call yourself a cupcake chemist, right? You do what God has put on your heart to do. And I promise, I tell people, once I decided to, stop, chasing corporate America and decided to do BWISE full time, things just opened up. Like literally, if I said, you know what, I sure would like to reach out to somebody who, is on staff or faculty at Lawrence Technical, then Sabrina just pops up. I mean, I didn't have to beg her. I didn't have to twist her arm. People, understand, the purpose of what we're trying to do, and they're just ardent supporters. So, So Chanel?
Yeah. This has been awesome. And I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to come on here and just kind of talk about DSP and hear your stories. I think one of the things is that regardless of whatever your dream is, there are resources and tools to support.
That's right.
Whatever that may be. Like you said, if you want to bake cupcakes or you want to start a consulting firm or whatever that is, there is a resource there. And we are one of those resources to help you if you want to go back. I mean, we have women that are 60 years old and they're like, I want to go back and get my PhD. And I'm like, that's amazing. I can't do that, but that is amazing. There are people that want to do that. There are people that are just like, they come right out of undergrad. They're like, I know what I want to do. And that's awesome.
Right.
But I think we're there to be that resource. If you decide the PhD is for me, I want to teach, which is what we do promote. But even if it's not, I mean, we have people that are directors in DC that are wherever you are, I feel like you can make a difference. And the pace of STEM is changing, and it needs to change. It's been a long time coming that people need to realize that people that do not look the traditional way that a scientist is supposed to look is out there. And it's time for people to see that. And we want to support that vision, whether that's in the classroom or whether that's outside the classroom. It's time. We want to help facilitate that.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Well, yay. I tell people, I've had people say an hour. What am I going to talk about for an hour? That's a long time. I always say, I promise you will look at that clock and you're like, it's been an hour?
But I will say this. One of my goals is to own my own DSW. I want to own my own shoe store. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. I'm going to work that out.
Heard it here first. She is abandoning STEM for the shoes.
Anything is
now there's a lot of STEM and to make shoes. There's a lot of science and engineering there.
Hey, we found a new career path. You can be I don't know, somebody who studies the movement of feet. Actually, you know what? That's interesting. You say that. There is a lady who started a shoe company probably 10, 12 years ago. She was a podiatrist. I'm sure she had a STEM background in undergrad, and she started a very successful shoe line. So you're right. Why not? We'll buy them. BWISE will buy them. We'll market them on our website. We'll get somebody to buy them, and we'll be wearing them at our BWISE. By that time, we'll have a BWISE annual conference. So we'll
okay now.
Sabrina Collins shoes. Like, girl, do you have the latest? You don't have the. Oh, you have to go back and get the pumps, girl. They're fabulous. So we support you, Sabrina.
All right.
We support you. Well,
it was nice meeting you.
I got one question. So Angela Watley says, what can we do to improve representation of Black women in STEM? Any ideas besides obviously what we're doing with BWISE? Any ideas?
I think this is one, having a forum like this is important. Definitely, because when you're in grad school, you need that support. And sometimes it's not a very good experience. Like Chanel had pointed out, you got a lot of young women and young men abandoning the STEM fields because of inexperience. I think it's important that we have some good intervention programs in place. Just very quickly, when I started at Ohio State, they had something called an early start program. So it wasn't specifically for minority students. It was for any student who had been accepted into the graduate program. So that summer, it was basically, we did a lot of review of, some basic concepts in chemistry to help prepare us for the fall. And because of that, I was ready to go in the fall, with my graduate courses. So, opportunities to go early, to get acclimated to the area, take advantage of those things, So, 3 weeks after earning my undergraduate degree, I moved to Columbus, Ohio, and started on that path. So, we need some good programs in place like that. Departments need to be mindful of those kinds of opportunities. This is, have something for all students. And so it was a cohort of us supporting each other, through the experience.
That's awesome. Chanel, thought?
Sure. I would say along with that, even starting young, I think it's been so encouraging to see things like Black Girls Who Code, and to see all these amazing organizations come out. I think there was a hashtag on Twitter that was like hashtag this is what a scientist looks like. And I think even stuff like that, just changing the narrative and showing our girls as they're growing up, like, hey, this is what a scientist can look like. You can be a scientist.
That's right.
I think the pipeline, we always talk about the pipeline, even with PhD, it's so small with who is being able to come in and take on those PhDs. So starting in like pre-K and having programs for girls to see and to have them believe that just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you can't do a chemical equation balance. So I think starting as early as possible to get that mental picture going that no, you can be a scientist.
That's true. Absolutely.
I see we've got one last question. And it's
okay.
What about women who are later in their career after PhD? There seems to be a gap for women. BWISE is great, but what would make the most impact for women? Angela, I don't know if your question ran out, but anybody know of any resources after your PhD as far as networking? I know there, depending on what your discipline is, there's American Chemical Society. There are various organizations associated with scholarship and research and things like that. So that would be my input. And, you just have to network and connect in there. You're still going to be a minority, right? Because there's just no infrastructure I was amazed that there wasn't already an organization for Black women, right? We know there's NSBE and there's SWE, but those are very entry level, or the majority of the people are entry level, probably up to 35, I would guess. There's probably not a lot of 50-year-old people who are in those organizations for themselves, right? They probably represent their companies, but as far as, getting direction and leadership and whatnot, support for themselves, not as much. So, I mean, do you all know of any other ones?
The one thing that I will say, I think pursuing professional development opportunities is key, and so, you mentioned some organizations. A lot of those organizations offer professional development opportunities. And I think that's a good place to start. I do agree there doesn't seem to be as much support for women after the PhDs, but like for example, this forum here, is providing support. So yeah, definitely, I would say seek out professional development opportunities with whether you're in corporate America or academia or you're in grad school. Seek out those professional development opportunities early, because coaches need coaches, and so you have to keep that in mind. So because I want to continue to grow and stretch. That never ends. So you have to seek out those professional opportunities.
Absolutely. Dr. Quall says networking becomes critical in mid to later careers in terms of support and development. We see that, when they talk about the pipeline, they're really talking about the beginning of the end. They're not speaking that much to the middle, which is where a lot of us drop out. We fall out, right? Because we're not getting promoted. We had one Black female CEO that had a STEM background, Ursula Burns, and to my knowledge, she's the only one at that level. There may be some with some smaller companies, but as far as Fortune 500 companies, I don't know of another one. She's set to step down. She may have already stepped down. I can't remember. So, we don't have a lot of role models at the C-suite level. For those of us on the corporate side, seems like there are probably a little bit more diversity on the academic side as far as people who are deans. I think you all may have seen that Stephanie Adams, hopefully I said her last name right. Dr. Adams became dean of, somebody help me. Somebody knows what school she's at. Just became, I don't think
Is
so.
Is she at University of
apologize.
Nebraska?
I should have, where is, the ODU. Okay, so thank you. I knew somebody was going to jump in. So, there's a little bit seemingly more diversity on the academic side, but we don't have a lot as, on the corporate side that we see. I know they're out there, but we don't see them. And that's one of the things I want BWISE to do is promote that. That's why when you go to the website, www.bwiseusa.org, I try to, keep a running scroll of, interesting people who have STEM degrees, entrepreneurs, and then, anybody who gets named as a president or a dean or whatever of a university or institution, so that people know we're making moves. So with that, I think that was our last question. Unless anybody has one last one. Stephanie Howard Adams' daughter. Okay, Dr. Claus, I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but her first name definitely is Stephanie. She's on the BWISE website for sure. So you all check her out amongst the other fabulous ladies who've done wonderful things in STEM. And with that, I don't want to keep, I know people may have, work tomorrow to go to, so they want to prepare. Stephanie Adams is Howard. Oh, okay. I see what she's saying. That's code. You have to be one of the board of know what she's saying. She was saying Stephanie Adams is Howard Adams' daughter, and they all know who Dr. Adams is. I don't know who that is, but Sabrina does. Yeah,
I know who Dr. Adams is, yes.
Once again, I want to thank you all for participating. This has been wonderful. We all have a wonderful experience to share, and I thank you all again for coming on. I did want to make sure, Chanel, do you want to give your contact information? Of course, I will always have it on the website, but did you want to share your contact information? And are you the person that they should read for any of my fabulous PhD candidates that are on the Blab tonight watching? Are you the person that they would be contacting? Are you? Okay, go ahead.
If you are interested either in becoming a scholar or even just attending the Institute conference, feel free. My email is chanell.turner@sreb.org. That's my email. And our website is sreb.org/doctoral-scholars. So
okay. And I'll make sure I have this information, and anybody, if I always post the blabs on the website so you can go back.
I do.
Huh?
So Dr. Qualis asked if I worked with Ansley. Yes, I do. He's my boss. He's pretty.
Oh, wow. What a small network. I tell you, it's small. The small world. So good. Hopefully you guys can connect. So you guys, everybody's a member of BWISE. So you guys go on LinkedIn and connect and share. I usually do that. I do introductions, but that's the beauty of LinkedIn. You guys don't need me to connect. So, you guys go in there and connect and meet up and link up and do all those things. Thank you again. I will have that information posted. So those of you guys who, weren't able to write it down, you'll have access to that. Sabrina, I'm assuming that if anybody wants to learn more about what you're doing over there at Lawrence Technological University, they can go to your website. Are you on there as the director of STEM? Is that how they can reach you?
Yeah, but I can be reached at scollins@ltu.edu.
And I'll have that information as well. So it's so important that we make these connections. And these ladies have volunteered to come on and be resources for us. So please take advantage of them. If you need help, anybody who's listening and you are looking for a mentor, please contact me. We've got people who want to help us. All you have to do is ask, right? All you have to do is ask. So thank you for all the participants, all my regular viewers. Tam, thank you. Dr. Qualis, thank you for coming on. I think I have some new people, so forgive me if I have left you off. My vice president is angry. He's not attending the meeting, so he's knocking on the door to get in. But thank you. Anybody wants a puppy? I have one. You can have for free. It's very naughty. That is very naughty. So thank you all again for attending. We do this every week. So next week we're going to be talking about transitioning or becoming an entrepreneur as a person in STEM. Take what you learn on your job, what you've learned in school, and become an entrepreneur. I don't think that a lot of us think that way, right? We're so used to being an employee. Sometimes it's a huge shift to think that way. So, we're going to be talking about that with Michelle. Michelle was on here, Michelle Hayward. That'll be next week, as well as the ladies in DC will be kicking off their very own blab. They're ready to go. Those DC ladies don't mess around. So anybody want to be a part of it, y'all catch up. They're ready to go. So thank you again to all the attendees. Thank you all to the guests. It's so wonderful that you guys agree to come and take an hour out of your busy day and talk to us. And I thank you again. Thank you. This was okay. See, I tell you, we have a good time. We always have a good time. So thank you again, everybody. Yeah. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.